Usually when I talk about my favorite era of music, I talk about the 2000s. But I think a close second has to be the 2010s, especially when it comes to alternative music.
My body tells me no, but I won't quit, 'cause I want more.
You had huge bands like the 1975, Paramore, Bleachers, and the emo and pop punk was just like top tier.
This for the lions living in the wiry, broke down frames of my friends' bodies.
This was the era of sad boy pop punk with bands like Real Friends and The Story So Far.
This quicksand, it pulls me under.
As well as the emo revival, with bands like Modern Baseball, Tiger's Jaw, and The World Is a Beautiful Place.
I'm carrying a heavy
These bands are all still so well remembered, and most of them are still putting out music today, except Modern Baseball, but, you know, fingers crossed. But with as many great and well-remembered bands from the 2010s, there's just as many that are forgotten, but not by me.
I never forget.
Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm Trevor and I am eternally uncool. I make videos about music, music culture, and anything that interests me. But mostly music right now. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, then I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and watching the rest of this video. I was in high school and college in the 2010s, which was the era in my life when I was really starting to cultivate my personality around the music that I was listening to. This personality consisted of hipster indie music like the 1975, emo revival like Modern Baseball and Free Throw, and pop punk bands like As It Is and Neck Deep. But I was listening to so much more than just those bands. This is just the surface level of my music listening iceberg. There's so many great bands from the 2010s that I didn't even get into until the 2020s. What can I say? I'm a late bloomer. These bands were interesting, innovative, and should have been so much bigger than they were. What I want to do today is take a look at a few forgotten bands from the 2010s. These bands range from pop punk to metalcore to indie rock. Maybe you've heard of some of these bands and you're saying, Trevor, you're an idiot. These bands aren't forgotten. They're my favorite band of all time. Fuck you. To that, I would say,
whoa, just take it easy, man.
But if you haven't heard of any of these bands, stick around and maybe you'll find a new artist to put on your playlist. With all that being said, grab a drink, grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get into the video. One of the bands I got really into in college was Dance Gavin Dance. I had their 2015 album Instant Gratification on CD and I listened to it quite a bit. They had a unique sound that I never really heard before. Mixing post-hardcore with math rock guitars, prog influences, and R&B vocals. I wanted to find more bands like this.
And oh boy did I.
Icarus the Owl was formed by vocalist-guitarist Joey Rubenstein in 2009. Rubenstein would be the only consistent member throughout Icarus the Owl's entire career, but when it formed, it consisted of drummer Mark Haynes, bassist Mike Black, and guitarist Dan Schaffman. Together, they recorded their debut album, The Spotless Mind, which I can only assume is a reference to the Jim Carrey movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is probably one of the greatest love story and breakup movies of all time. Great movie, watch it if you haven't already. Icarus the Owl was similar to Dance Gavin Dance in the way that they combined post-hardcore with math rocky elements, as well as a little bit of prog rock, while also incorporating pop-punk energy and melodies. I discovered this band not too long ago, like probably a year or two ago, when I was recommended their song Rinse and Start Over from their 2012 album, Love Always Leviathan. If you enjoy swancore bands like Dance Gavin Dance, Hail the Sun, and A Lot Like Birds, then I highly recommend checking out Icarus The Owl. Definitely a band for any emo prog fan out there. When I was first getting into the emo revival, I was introduced to it through bands like Modern Baseball, Free Throw, and the Front Bottoms. And once I really got into the genre, I would listen to any band that came my way, giving them all equal shots at my attention and affection. But one of the bands that caught my ear in those early days was a band called Somos.
I need a window to see out of. I need some time so I can count down. To the day that I can tell you that I know just where I'm going.
Somos was formed in Boston, Massachusetts in 2012 by Michael Fiorentino, Justin Hahn, Evan Degas, and Phil Haggerty. Their sound is a mix of emo, indie rock, and dream pop. They didn't quite sound like any other band that I was listening to at this time. They didn't have those classic emo revival vocals of Modern Baseball and the Front Bottoms. You know the kind I'm talking about. Michael Fiorentino had a much more, baritone voice. It sounded more appropriate for post-punk. And Somos also wasn't as dour as a band like The World Is a Beautiful Place. They were somber, yes, but there was more of a poppiness and catchiness to the music they were putting out.
It should feel good. It does not. It should feel good. It does not. How does it feel to be a problem, to be a thorn in the side?
But if you enjoy your emo bands with a hint of indie rock, then I highly recommend checking out Somos. You know, I didn't start getting into metalcore until much later in my life. When I was in high school, the closest I got to metalcore was Avenged Sevenfold, and I didn't even really listen to them all that much. And when I did get into metalcore, the type of metalcore I was into was just so different. I love bands like Bring Me the Horizon and Northlane, but I also really gravitate to the more theatrical and emo side of metalcore. And that is where Crown the Empire comes in.
I can feel her inside my lungs again, all because of you.
Crown the Empire is from Dallas, Texas, and was formed at the very start of the 2010s in
2010.
Fun fact, Post Malone was almost in this band. Can you imagine a world where Post Malone wasn't a rapper and he was instead the fucking bassist of a metalcore band? How different would our society be?
Just want you to stop saying odd shit.
I was introduced to Crown the Empire through an ex who played the song Millennia for me in 2019. I remember liking the song, but I didn't really listen to the band for a number of years. For obvious reasons.
A lot of bad memories with that one.
But about a year ago, I decided to give them another chance, and I ended up really liking what I heard.
I've been gone from this world for what seems like millennia, looking for an up and short of a miracle. I only ever wanted to come home. Please won't you let me go?
If you like metalcore that mixes theatricality with electronics and a little bit of prog influences, then you might like Crown the Empire. It might surprise you to hear this, but I listened to a fair amount of pop punk in the 2010s.
You don't say!
I was into everything from As It Is and Neck Deep to Man Overboard and The Wonder Years. A lot of what I listened to was fairly obscure. And I don't say that in an, oh, I listen to such underrated stuff kind of way. Even though I do listen to underrated stuff. What I mean is I listened to a lot of pop punk bands that didn't really get the attention that they really deserved. And one of the bands I remember most who didn't get the attention that they so well deserved was Waster.
She said, tell me what's the fucking problem? No exaggerations.
Waster hail from Liverpool, England.
Home of the Beatles.
So this technically makes Waster the Beatles of the 2010s. They have a similar vibe to bands like Neck Deep and Real Friends, as well as taking influence from 2000s greats like Blink-182 and New Found Glory. You know, I forget how I discovered Waster. They were probably recommended to me when I was listening to As It Is or Neck Deep. But I do remember in 2019 they had a 2-song EP that consisted of a cover of the 1975's Give Yourself a Try and the All-American Rejects' Gives You Hell. These are 2 of my favorite songs of all time, and I think Waster does them both justice.
So just give yourself a try. Won't you give yourself a try? Won't you give yourself a try? Won't you give?
Waster is just a criminally underrated pop punk band. I think they should be a lot bigger. So if you enjoy quality pop punk, then I highly recommend checking out Waster. Do you like any of these bands? What are some other underrated 2010s pop punk bands I should talk about? Let me know in the comments. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then I highly recommend smashing that like button and sharing this video with everyone you know. I'm a small, independent content creator who does everything on his own. And I'm really trying to grow this channel. So every like, every comment, every share, any interaction with this video or any of my other videos really helps me out a lot. I think my next goal in terms of like subscribers is to get to 5K subscribers by the end of 2026. If I can do that, then I'll do a video reacting to my old privated YouTube videos. The videos I made before Eternally Uncool was really a thing. So if you want to see some embarrassing old like videos from 2015 to like 2019, tell your friends to subscribe. I'm also trying to grow my Instagram, so if you want to follow me there, you can. But with all that being said, thank you for watching. As always, I'm Trevor. Stay uncool. And that's the end of the video. Goodbye.